We're live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the First Layer. My name's Richard. I'm your host here. This is Ask for Help, our live stream Saturday night. There's no Brian tonight, unfortunately. Brian is in BC with Jess. They went for some family business, and we hope that they come back safely. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look, see who's in our chat tonight. We've got Dominic Versetto, Rex Waldy, Guy the Jedi, and Parker Cooper. We've got a few questions to answer tonight. I'm going to be taking your questions and answering them as best I can. My wife is just making her way down here now, and she's pretty sore. She was out and about today. So we do have the super chat turned on. Sausage is here. Robert Marvin's here.
Sausage!
My wife loves that name, Sausage. I don't know why, but she does.
Because of Paul.
Oh, because of Paul. The movie Paul. There we go. There's Robert Marvin from SoCal, Southern California. So we are, we're all on our own. There's Mike Hunt. Morning all from Perth.
Is that his name?
Yes, it's Mike Hunt.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry.
Pirate Corey, Gordon Claridge. I hope I got that right. Gordon Claridge. Good evening from Ontario, he says. All right, so let's talk about what we did this week to start off with. We'll get into the video that we put up about doing stuff around the house for your kids. Get them out of the house, get them away from the video games, get them away from all of that stuff that is a distraction and keeps them indoors. The Frisbee. Let's talk about the Frisbee. The Frisbee in PLA, I would print that in TPU if I were you. If you're going to print that one, all of the links are in the description below Wednesday's video. I got to say, I really enjoyed going out and playing with some of these. My wife printed most of these on the Monoprice Cadet. She's now kind of taken over the reins of what shows we're doing. Especially for me. So she's printing up a bunch of stuff. She throws it on my desk and says, here. Actually, she throws it in one of these, puts it on my desk and says, here's all the links, here's everything, and now talk about it. Now she wants the bin back. We have Pierre. Good evening from Edmonton. Pierre, I've got some questions from you that I'm going to be answering this evening. And Robert, 954 from South Florida. Good evening. 3 cheers for Mrs. Richard. My wife's name is Jerry, and it's spelled G-E-R-I, just like in Jerry Hollowell from the
I was cheering for
from the Spice Girls, if you remember them. Do you want to be my lover? Now we're going to get demonetized. So, I'm not going to sing tonight. So let's get your questions ready. I'm going to start with the first question, see if I can answer it. It says, good evening, the First Layer. My question is this. How are you able to know the codes of the stock LCD on the Ender 5 Plus or any Creality LCD? Thank you. See you at the show this evening, Pierre Blanchard. Here's the problem with that. There isn't really a code. If you go down into the firmware, which is the Marlin firmware, if you go down into the LCD area, there is a specific Creality monitor or Creality LCD that you'll have to make sure is enabled in order for you to be able to utilize the Creality LCD. The funny thing about Creality LCDs is they're the same across the board. If you're using the old rotary dial one, like that was on the Ender 3, the CR-10, or any of those, and I might have one here on my desk somewhere. Nope, I don't. Oh. I might be fibbing. I do have one. I just might need to clean my desk, as my wife says. So I have one here. This is a Creality LCD. Now, on the Creality LCD, you have 3 ports on the back. There's a number 1, a number 2, and a number 3. On the Ender 5 Plus, I believe it uses 1 and 2. I could be wrong. If it doesn't use 1 and 2, it's going to definitely use 3 because it's either 3 or 1 and 2. I know on the CR-10 it is 1 and 2, but on the Ender 3 it is the third port only, and there's only one place to plug it in on the board. But yeah, go ahead and look into your firmware, and in the area where it says LCD, you will find the Creality LCD. So I hope that answered your question. Let's put this off to the side. Who else do we got here tonight? We've got Snapshot FPV. We got Loch Ness Gaming. Just came by to say hi. Well, hello. Now he's out. Mark Thibodeau. Hello from Ontario. RT, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. So we got the first question out of the way. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. If you want to get them to the front of the line, there's always Super Chat. And we do have the Super Chat button turned on tonight.
Super Chat.
Because Brian's not here. There's Norman Dottie. Hello, sir. How are you? We've had a lot of great new people join our Facebook group this week. We've had a lot of great new people subscribe to the channel. We are getting very, very close to hitting that 20,000 mark. And again, every time that goes up, I'm stunned. I'm always stunned by how it goes up in such jumps. We've been gaining about 1,000 new subscribers every month, and I can't thank you guys enough for watching the show. Let's get into the next question. You're probably going to ask me about these rockets. Let's do that first. If you see these big tubes in the background here, these are rockets I'm working on for our next launch. This, again, here, let me pull this up. You guys saw me post some pictures of this on Facebook this week. This is the sample of, well, basically the breadboard of what is going to eventually be our altimeter. Also, our gyro is going to be on here. And this has a LiPo battery on it. There we go. And it's going to have an on-off switch, which it already does. If we turn the on-off switch on, right there, you can see that everything kind of lights up down at the bottom there. And we are getting altimeter data right now, but I'm still not getting, or we're getting altitude data and we're getting gyroscopic data, but we're not getting any of the other data, which would be the barometric pressure, which is going to really determine our altitude. And we're not getting the time or the temperature, pardon me. All that kind of stuff is going to be put into a nice small package, which will go into the nose cone, which is right here. This is the nose cone I've been designing. And I've done this in Fusion 360. Actually, all the parts, including the motor mounts, were all done in Fusion 360. And you can see this one has a big opening. So there's nothing to grab onto for the shock cord or the parachute to grab onto. The reason that this is an opening is so that we can slide a tray in here that will house all of the electronics, and then we're going to bolt it on. So I'm still working on this design a little bit. This is done in PETG. This is done in the Overture PETG. This is their space gray. It's kind of a silvery color. I really like it. It's a shame that I'm going to actually have to paint over this. Sausage is saying, I'm printing a face shield. Corner started lifting using super glue to stick it back down. Hope I can get it off later. I would never use super glue on my bed. If you're having a lifting issue in a corner, it means that your print is shrinking too fast or it's cooling too fast, which is causing that shrinkage. So I would adjust the temperature of your bed. Maybe try it again, adjust the temperature of your bed, and that will definitely help in the long run. Snapshot FPV, Richard. We took a short holiday recently. My wife began a cancer survivor, needed a way to organize her medications. I printed the pill organizer you featured. Worked a treat. Great, thank you. Yeah, that's that pill organizer. We're going to print another one because I need one for my medications. As you guys know, I suffer from migraines and lower back issues. It sucks getting old. Man, I'm 55 years old and I feel like I'm falling apart. So we're going to print another one of those for myself, and I think my wife's going to print one for hers too.
I've got that one.
Oh, she's got the original. Sausage trying to save the print with super glue. Yeah, I'm a little leery on putting super glue on my bed. You may not get it off unless you've got a glass bed. Yeah, it depends on how much glue that you've put on there. Yeah, I'm just a little leery about that. If you should have a problem, take a little bit of acetone and it should come off. Gordon Coolidge, getting old sucks, but it beats the alternative. That's true. I do not have one foot in the grave just yet. It's glass ultra base. Ooh. Are you using just the glass side or are you using the side with the ultra base on it? Please let me know, Sausage, because if you're using the ultra base side up, you're going to be in trouble. I'm just going to say that now. If it comes out great, then I was wrong, and I'd be happy to be wrong in this instance. But
ultra base.
Yeah, yeah, ultra base. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you may have a problem getting that off, bud. That's when you have issues on an ultra base. I've found I don't like the ultra base. I never have. I never will. We've had it on various different printers, and the ultra base, in my opinion, is just garbage. After about a dozen prints, you can clean it off with some isopropyl alcohol or acetone or whatever, but it gums it up. If you notice, if you take some isopropyl alcohol and you wipe that bed, pick up the pad, you're going to notice that it's a little yellow. It's got a yellow tinge to it where you've been wiping. And that's picking up some of the properties of that material. And then it doesn't stick very well after a while, and it really kind of sucks. I'm glad you got a chisel, man, but you might be replacing your bed. Sorry to say that. Let it cool completely and let the print pop off. What material are you using on that, Sausage? I'd really like to know. Thoughts on the Keyditech X Plus? I've never even seen the Keyditech X Plus. You're using PLA, okay. The Keyditech X Plus, again, I haven't seen it. I'm not up on all the latest printers that are out there. I've been really taken aback by companies like Lotmaxx, who are a very small company, but they're putting out really good quality products. And, you know, there's other companies that have reached out to me as well, and they're just small. They're trying to get their foot in the door, and I got to tell you that some of the printers they're putting out are rivaling some of my favorite printers. And you guys know that the Ender 3 has been one of my favorite printers since it came out. And it's at the end of the day, these are starting to make the Ender 3 look tired and old.
I like my shark.
My wife says she likes the Lotmaxx SC-10 Shark. She really likes it. All right, so Joseph Jolly, hello everyone from Ontario, Florida. Hope everyone is doing he's from Orlando, Florida, not Ontario, Florida. Orlando. I can't read tonight. I need new glasses. Snapshot FPV says, be very careful with acetone. The fumes will mess you up. Yes, they will. Robert 954, Cura add a plug-in for anti-warping. I don't know. Do they have a plug-in for anti-warping? I've never seen one. The Goat, one piece at a time. Thank you for the answer. You are very welcome. Parker Cooper, I just let the filament run out. Yeah, I usually just let my filament run out too. Yeah, that Keyditech X Plus, you know what? I'm going to actually take that. There we go, Keyditech X Plus. I'm just going to copy that, and we're going to search Google for it. So give me just a second. Let's see exactly what this thing is. It is a large size X Plus intelligent industrial 3D printing with nylon carbon fiber PC high precision. Keytech products, in my mind, are just repurposed flash forges and things like that. But that doesn't mean they're not good. I've seen some Keytechs that are really well put together. And other machines that aren't so good put together, but I've seen that from everybody. I've seen that from Creality. I've seen that from a number of other companies. Longer comes to mind. But this looks like it's got everything that you need. And if it can print nylon, that's great. Carbon fiber? Yeah, I would be down for a printer like this. Let's have a look at the specs here and see what they are. So 270 by 200 by 200. That's not bad. So it's a little odd shaped. Carbon fiber, nylon, PETG, TPU, PC, which is polycarbonate. ABS, PLA. All right. Works on, it's compatible with Windows 64. It's got a 350 watt power supply. It's got Wi-Fi, LAN, USB, and pen drive. So that's actually really good. And I don't see a price here because it just took me to the Amazon one. But just based on the specs, it might be a good machine.
Sausage can hear me sanding over here?
You probably can hear what, not sanding, but the printer.
My cadets.
Yeah, she's got the Cadet, the Monoprice Cadet going. She loves that machine. It's just tiny. If you guys saw the review on that, it's just a tiny little thing.
It does all the small pieces really nice.
Yeah, it does all the small pieces really nice. RT is asking what the Lotmaxx used for the same parts as the Ender 3. The Lotmaxx, the only thing that you can use that's on an Ender 3 is a micro Swiss hot end. That's the only similar piece. Everything else is different.
The touch is different?
Touch is different as well, yeah. Okay, let's, I have the Creality X Max, very pleased so far, Chris McEwen is saying. What's being sanded, sausage? No, as I said, it is,
Yeah, you answered that already.
it is the other one, yeah. 850 US. That, to me, for what it does, based on paper, it's good. Windows 64, yeah, Windows 64, 64-bit. Is what I meant to say by that. Mike, thanks to you guys' recommendations, I've acquired and installed the MicroSwiss DD extruder, direct drive extruder, and hot end from 3D Print Canada on my CR-10S Pro. Excellent. Hopefully it's working really good for you. Being of an age of rapidly diminishing brain cells, that's this guy. I can't get my head around the G codes required to adjust retraction and speed and how to save permanently. Any advice appreciated. Mike, what I would say to you on that is you want to go, if you're using Cura, which you should be using Cura, if you're, or Simplify 3D, those are the two that I highly recommend. But Cura, if you're using Cura, you can actually go and adjust that right underneath. It's either material settings or travel in the latest version of Cura. Joseph Jolly, I just added the FL Sun QQS Pro. So far, so good. Starting to use Cura more. Very happy with it. Cura has come a long, long way in the short time that it has been getting updates. I remember when I first got into this a little over 3 years ago now, coming up actually on 4 years that I got into 3D printing, because we're coming up to the 3rd anniversary of the show in October. That I had a real problem with Cura because I couldn't wrap my head around it. So immediately I got Simplify 3D and it was so much easier. The GUI was easier. I didn't have to think about anything. I just threw my model in there, made whatever minor tweaks to the layer height that I needed to, and I was on my way. And I had a lot more successful prints. And as I learned more and more about Cura, I found that as they did their updates, now they're, of course, what is it, 4.6.2 or 0.3? That Cura has come a long way. It is really rivaling software packages like Simplify 3D.
And it's free.
And it's free. Ah, your son. So the goat says that his son has just switched to Cura from the Kitty Slicer and loves it. The problem with, here's what I'm finding, and it's true for not only the Lotmaxx, but it's now becoming true for Creality, is that they're taking older versions of Cura, 4.2 as a matter of fact, and they're customizing it for their printers, and they're calling it Creality Slicer or Lotmaxx Slicer, but the engine underneath is still Cura 4.2. And do they work? They work amazingly well because they're now tuned at the factory. And when they're tuned at the factory, you get, first of all, a machine that's ready to go. You basically put it together and slice your models and Bob's your uncle level your bed. And I think that the problem with it, though, is that you can end up with too many versions of Cura on your machine. That's the downside to it, because now you've got one for Creality, you've got one for Lotmaxx, you've got one for Kitty Tech, you got one for FlashForge. You've got these different slicers. And at the end of the day, do you really need all these slicers? No, not really, because if you get the latest version, there's going to be most of those printers in there. The ones I haven't found yet would be the Monoprice Cadet is not in there yet. Also, the Lotmaxx are not in the latest version, but the Shark and the SC-10 aren't in there, but they've come out with their own versions. So, Somebody's moving. Thanks, Goat. I'm still using the Kitty Slicer and as it came. The Kitty printer, I'll have to try Cura. Yes, Chris McEwen, you will have to try. Let's get on to Norman, proud new owner of an Ender 5 Pro, currently printing its own wire management design in Fusion 360, already drooling over dual extrusion or extruder models. Norman, don't be too quick to run to dual extrusion. That would be my advice to you. Richard, suggestions on prepping a printer for a moving soon. 2 states away. My printer is, of course, an Ender 3. Here's what I would do is I would take the hot end and the X gantry, and I would zip tie them so that they don't move up and down or back side to side. So you get no movement there. I would also try and secure the bed somehow by zip tying it down just to make sure that it doesn't move back and forth, and then pack blankets or whatever you need to pack around it and take it with you. That is going to ensure the least amount of headache when you get to the other end, because when you get to where you're moving to, all you got to do is snip those ties, make sure that everything is still running smoothly, and you're off to the races. Maybe re-level your bed, and all. That's about it. Kitty Slicer was Cura dumped way down. Oh, okay, that's interesting to know. Phil Morris, the first layer. If you haven't seen it, check out the Prussia live show number 6 on YouTube. Guest segment was all about 3D printed rocketry in aid of atmospheric weather data capture. Very cool interview. I will have to go and check that out because, as you guys know, we're doing a lot of rocketry stuff right now. Our next launch is August 28th, and it will be with a fully 3D printed rocket, a rocket that is a combo of traditional materials and 3D printing. And then the last one will be, of course, all traditional materials. Now, when I say traditional materials, I'm talking about plywood fins, I'm talking about airframes that are made from cardboard tubes. You know, I had to seam this one together, so I've got a little bit of fill work. You can see that I've cut out the fin locations here, all by hand, not machine done. I didn't realize how much work building rockets in a short period of time was going to be. The other rockets that we flew, they were small, they were easy, 4 hours, they're off the printer, put a parachute in them, and they're ready to go. These ones, a little bit more involved. But the 3D printed one, the fins will be 3D printed right to the body, so they should be very, very strong. Hi, do you recommend upgrading the throat in the CR-10S to an all-metal one? Absolutely, I do. I actually recommend taking that entire hot end off and upgrading the hot end to a Micro Swiss. And I always say Micro Swiss because, no, they're not a sponsor, but I do love that product so much. It has never failed me once. Any machine I put a Micro Swiss on always works. Right now, I've got my CR-10 running PETG, and I'm testing out the BQ flex plates right now with PETG, and I'm printing more rocket parts. And it's holding. It's doing a great job. Let's see, where am I here? Gotta go shopping. Okay, Sausage, you have yourself a good night. And the goat is out. Breaker 19, buddy, I need help with something. If I designed a part in Fusion or Tinkercad, will it mess my specs and dimensions up if I change the wall thickness in my slicer? It should not mess up the print. The wall thickness, now, bear in mind, when we talk about wall thickness, we're talking about how many layers for the inner and the outer wall. So if your part is, let's say, 1/4 of an inch, you've designed it so that it's got 1/4 of an inch. Let me put these two together. So we got 1/4 of an inch. So you got 1/4 of an inch of material. Okay. Now it's going to print 3 walls, and then it's going to fill in with infill between that area. So that's something to keep in mind. So it shouldn't mess up your part if you've got inner and outer walls. If your wall is too thin, and I'm experiencing some of that with the rocket stuff I'm doing, if your wall is too thin, it may confuse the software a little bit, and it may not give you any infill. It may just print it solid. So something to be aware of. All right, so let's take a look at another question here that came in. We've got one here from Andy. He says, hi guys, Andy from the UK. My questions are, when I'm doing supports, they always stick to my print really bad, and the only way I can remove the bits that are stuck to the print is to sand. Anyway, I can get my supports to support, but not stick so bad to the print. Secondly, is there a way in Cura that I can make some parts of print stronger infill and others? So making the legs of a model 50% and the body 20%. There is a way to do it. It's easier to do in Simplify 3D. There is a plugin that you can use to do, what is it called? Additive infill. So it'll do infill, certain amount of infill at a certain density, then it'll change, and then, or adaptive infill. That's the word. Yes, you can do it in Cura. Now, as far as the supports go, you want to make sure you have the right amount of gap between the bottom of your part and where your support ends. So usually that's about 1 millimeter or 1/2 millimeter. If you're too close, what's going to happen is that gap is going to fuse, of course, to the bottom. And we can see here on the bottom of this nose cone, see if that'll focus. You can see I don't have a very clean area right there. There we go. You can see it's not very clean, but it is flat. And there wasn't a whole lot of support material in there. just enough to support that so that the rest of the nose cone could come away. Now, taking that off was actually fairly easy because I have enough of a gap. So all I basically did was took just the edge of my knife and just got in there underneath and just cleaned it up. Actually, I think I used a putty knife like this to get it off. I've got so much stuff on my desk right now, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I got to keep an eye on the time here too. There we go. We're at 7:23. We've been on for about half an hour or so. Guy the Jedi, tree supports is the way to go. Yes and no. Tree supports are great for some things, but they're not good for everything. This area right here, this nice big flat area, tree supports would have just been a mess under that. If you're looking at doing figures, something like this, for instance, let's say you're doing something like this, tree supports are great because then they'll get up underneath the nose and all these overhang areas, and they're easy to take off. However, now you can see that there is a little bit of scarring on the bottom of this one, but not much. But that was all done with tree supports. This was all done with tree supports. And this came out beautifully. This is that graft milk that I did a review on quite a while back. This is available online. Just type in graft milk if you want to find this stuff. It's fairly expensive. But something like this had just a little bit of support underneath the chin and a little bit of support underneath the pecs here. But other than that, this was not tree support. This was traditional support. So it all depends on how much space you have between the bottom of your model and where the support is. Can you talk about manual supports within the slicer? Do you know anything about the manual supports? There's a way to do it in Cura. I've never done it in Cura. I've done it in Simplify 3D a million times because Simplify 3D makes adding and subtracting supports very, very easy. It's just basically a click of your mouse. In Cura, it's a little bit more difficult. You have to use a support blocker. So you're going to create a block where there's going to be no support. Although when you go into the preview, it's going to show that, but there'll be a grayed out area. So where that grayed out area is means that no support is going to go there. And it is in the custom support add-on, and you'll find that in the marketplace. Best Friends World, hello from Ireland. Well, hello, Ireland. Welcome. Can you recommend the best settings in S3D with PLA? I'm a newbie and use two printers, the Sidewinder X1 and the Anycubic Chiron. Thanks. The best settings, I would say, are the factory settings, to be perfectly honest with you. I have never had to go in and mess with my settings using PLA on any printer using Simplify 3D. I have found it to work every time. Now, if you have to create your own profile, that's a different story. You're going to have to mess a little bit with it. You want to make sure, first of all, that you've got your multiplier, your extrusion multiplier correct. And usually that's going to be around either 1.0 or 0.9 or 0.95. Thank you very much, Breaker19. Got to hit this button right here.
Super chat.
There's our first super chat of the night. Thank you very much. But as far as that goes, your printing temperature should be right around 200, maybe 205, depending on the material that you're using. Your bed should always be somewhere around 50, 60. Now, the Chiron that's a Delta printer, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not familiar with the Chiron too much. I'm not familiar with Delta printers as a whole. I have used them, but they're not something I prefer. And as far as for newbies go, I never, ever recommend a Delta printer for a newbie because they're just too complicated. Brian doesn't even have one, and Brian's got printers galore as well. So at the end of the day, I would say that find your Find your optimum settings. First of all, look to see that there is a profile available for download. If not, you're going to have to make one based on another machine, and you may have to change some things. But temperature, always around 200, 205, and bed should be 50 to 60 degrees. So I hope that answered your question. Breaker 19, is Simplify 3D the one you have to pay for? Yes, it is. I hear good things and bad things, like the dev team has went MIA and no updates are being pushed out. True or false? No updates have been pushed out in quite some time. That is very true. The dev team is not MIA. The dev team is still up and active. However, what they've been concentrating on is the newest version of Simplify 3D, which is going to be Simplify 3D 5. And when that is released, it is going to be a paid upgrade for all of us that already have it. And it is going to come with a price tag for those that don't have it. Now, the upgrade for us, they haven't told us if it's going to be the same as a regular retail. If it is, I'm not going to buy it because I don't use it often enough anymore. Since Simplify 3D hasn't had a lot of updates lately, Cura has really pushed ahead of them in so many ways. Now, Cura really needs to get off their butts and do better job with supports, but that's really the only thing that's lacking. They've got a great lineup of printers, very well worked on. The development team for Cura, to me, is far better. So if you're looking at Simplify 3D to purchase it, I would hold off just now. Wait till 5 is released, and then wait a little longer, because you want to see how things are going with 5 to see if they get all the bugs worked out and how many updates they roll out after they release it. Best friend. Oh, we got a super chat. Wait, let me get that. Hey, there it is.
Super chat.
Mike, thank you very much, sir. $10 from Mike, and we do appreciate that. You know, those super chats, they do help us to keep making content for you guys, because this is my full-time job now. My wife and I, this is our full-time job. We just run our YouTube channel. I had no option. I was making for healthcare masks and visors, so had to grab what I could get. Yeah. I certainly understand that. I know that we're not here in Canada, we're not supplying anymore. There's been some real issues supplying people. Even our local Walmart will no longer take the ear savers for the face masks. They've stopped taking them from us, even though, you know, it was something that we were trying to do good with. They just stopped taking them from us. So we're not making anymore. And the way COVID is here in Canada, now I know in the States it's still very rampant, and I don't want to get into the politics behind it, but here in Canada, we now are waiting out to see when phase 2 comes. Because when we get that second wave, I can tell you right now, and it's going to be in the young people more than it is people my age. It's going to be in the millennials, because we were out just the other day and my wife and I saw so many people that weren't wearing masks. People that are our age and older, a lot of them were wearing masks. Very few weren't. But at the end of the day, if you can make PPE for your local healthcare system, wherever you are in the world, please do so. If you've got the means to do it, do it. It makes you feel better as a human being. Hey, there's Jim. Better late than never. That's true, Jim. Breaker 19, how long has 4.1 been out? As 4.1 has been out for, I want to say, a year and a half now. I think it's been that long since they've done an update. Mark Thibodeau, I just looked at Simplify 3D. Version 4.1 is still $149.99 US, $200 Canadian. Yes. Don't buy 4.1. Wait till 5 comes out. The company is still very active. I get emails from them every once in a while. I haven't had one lately, mind you, but they're keeping very quiet. Since they announced back in January of last year that they were going to be rolling out 5 and that everybody would have to pay for it, whether you were a license holder of a previous version or not, there was a lot of uproar from the community, especially those guys like myself who had paid for the original software. Now, at the end of the day, we didn't think it was fair. So as soon as that brouhaha went all through the internet, they literally cut off communications with everybody. They weren't rolling out updates. They weren't talking about what's coming new. Every 4 or 5 months, they'll say 5 is still being worked on. It's coming soon. And we wait and we wait and we wait, and we don't know what's happening. So I've looked at all my news sources and I haven't seen anything. So don't go and buy 4.1. Wait for 5 if you really need Simplify 3D. Other than that, I'm going to say stick with Cura, and you're going to be just as well off with Cura. There's more support behind Cura as well, as far as I'm concerned. Parker Cooper, you old folks have sense. Oh, us old folks. I missed the S in that. See, I can't read. Best Friend World, ditto in Ireland. Some countries are now in lockdown again as numbers are going up. Thankfully, where I am, it's okay for now. One of my best friends growing up is Irish, and I just heard from him about a week ago on Facebook. We connected again after many, many years of. He's a childhood friend of mine. We went to grade school together. He lived around the corner from me, and he's Irish, and we used to tease him about being Irish when he was a kid because, Cleveland, I'm English. Joe Jolly, and you can only install it on 2 computers. Yes, that's true. When it comes to Simplify 3D, you can only install it on 2 computers. Right now I have it on this computer in front of me, and I have it on the other computer. I don't have it on the one upstairs because it's just not powerful enough for it. But I very rarely use it anymore. Dave Tillman, love Cura. If you go back and watch some of my earlier videos, like way back to the beginning before we hit 300 videos, you guys are going to know that I hated Cura. I absolutely loathed Cura because Simplify 3D was so much easier and had everything that I needed. Then Simplify 3D just started to slowly walk down the steps of nowhere. And Cura decided that they were going to run up that same set of steps and get to the top. And since I've started teaching Cura and I've been using Cura on all of my prints now, like this was all printed in Cura. All of this was printed in Cura. This is the motor mount without the mounting rings on it. It never fails me. Never. Parker Cooper says the newer version of Cura doesn't work for him. Do you have any other installs of Cura? Because I've noticed on my computer when I've installed the newest one, it will sometimes leave behind an old one and cause problems. Check that out in your applications and see if you've got any other versions of Cura. If you do, get rid of them all, every one of them, and then just do a fresh install, Parker, and I think that'll solve your problem. Jim says he got frustrated with Cura, lost too many profiles, so he moved from it. Well, that's fine. Again, not every software is going to be for everybody. It's just like not every printer is going to be for everybody. Not every manufacturer of filament is going to be for everybody. This filament here, this silver, or space gray as they call it, this is PETG, and I got to tell you, based on my experiences, I've never had really good experience with crap knockoff names. But Overture, this is just, it's a cheap, I won't say cheap, but it's inexpensive, and it just works every time. I've had a roll sitting on my printer now for, oh geez, almost 3 weeks. Open air, no problems. There's no hissing. There's no failed prints. This stuff just works great. Guy the Jedi, do you use Prusa Slicer? If so, what are your thoughts on it? I have tried Prusa Slicer. I think it's come a long way from what it was. I still don't use it regularly because I don't need to. So thoughts, if it works for you, great. Keep using it. If it doesn't work for you, then I would consider moving to something else. Breaker 19, what part of Canada are you from? Can you say? I pulled on the lever and got a vase full of pasta. A vase full of pasta. I am in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Originally born in Ontario, raised in Manitoba. So I am in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Actually, I'm going to go see a new client tomorrow. Hey, there's James Lane. In Cura, profile management has changed over the years, so old profiles will often misbehave when used with newer versions. That's why I make note of my key settings changes and use Cura defaults. I do exactly the same thing, James. What I will do is I will take a look at the profiles. I will note them down just like you do in a notebook, and then I will get rid of all versions of Cura on my machine, install the new version, and then I will look at how that profile performs against my previous ones. And usually I will find that the new profiles actually performs better than the profile I was previously using. I got food grade PLA. No, you didn't. To make cookie cutters, still on the to-do list. Just wanted to see if I should have a different nozzle, or maybe it makes no difference. Here's the thing about food grade products. When you buy food grade PETG, food grade PLA, food grade ABS, once they go through that nozzle, once they go through the entire chain of the hot end, they're no longer food grade. I will guarantee you that, because of all the contaminants that are inside the hot end, not just in the nozzle, but in the hot end. And that whole flow, if you're using a Bowden setup, or even if you're using a direct drive, you still have, now you're exposing that to the air. You're now exposing that to previous materials that might have been in your hot end. So it's no longer going to be food grade. Now, let me preface that by saying I've made cookie cutters out of just plain old PLA for my wife, and she's still using them. They're in the drawer upstairs. She uses them, and all she does, she just rinses them off, cleans them up, puts them back in the drawer. So PLA, I wouldn't store food in it. I wouldn't store food in food grade PETG either. But for making stuff like cookie cutters, you should be just fine and you won't get sick. Now watch, you'll get sick and it'll all be my fault. I haven't gotten sick yet, so take that as you will. David H. Hi, I've got an Ender 3 with SKR Mini E3, and I've started getting thermal runaway errors on the extruder. I think the thermistor or cable is okay. Anything else I should check before replacing the heater? It's not the heater, it's the thermistor. Change the thermistor. That is the problem. And also make sure that in the firmware that you've been playing around with, that you uploaded, make sure that it's got the correct thermistor code, and you should be fine. Ontario Teen Tech, I'm not getting bad first layer on the Ender. I am not getting bad first layer on Ender. And thoughts? If you're not getting a bad first layer, great. If you are getting a bad first layer, there's probably a couple things going on there. One of them being that you haven't set your bed height correctly, and that usually is 90% of the problem. You wouldn't believe how many people say to me, I've leveled my bed 20 times and it still doesn't stick. That's because you haven't leveled it correctly, or you have not set the offset correctly. So double check those things. If you're getting great first layers, then great. I like the Ender. I still like the Ender. I've got the Ender V2 sitting on my desk here. Reviews coming out on that very soon. Best Friends World. I work from home. as a small business owner, only doing this since the end of April due to the COVID, but so far I am loving it. I love working from home. I think it's great. Dave Tellman, he retracted his message. Okay. Firmware upgrade on Ender 3. Parker Cooper, I don't believe there is a firmware upgrade on the Ender 3 V2. Mine came with the latest version. If you got one that doesn't have the latest version, I believe if you got one that is just 1.0, you should have 1.01 is the latest version, and I would go check Creality's website to make sure that you get that. Now, okay, before I get into any more of those questions, I got one more here that's in my group of questions for tonight, and this is another one from Peter Blanchard up in Edmonton. He says he has two questions. What is the change in the new Marlin 2.06? I don't know. I haven't discussed it yet. I haven't looked at it. I will be looking at it soon, so I will be putting up a video. Either I will or Brian will very soon. And number two, when I print a file, or when a print file is done, my hot end always goes to the left because I have on the ending script G28 X0 home X axis on Simplify 3D. However, if I reprint the same file, when the print is done, the hot end will stay at the print. Would you know why this is happening? There's some sort of communication error. Might be a breakdown in the G code. I would double check your SD card for starters, and that should solve that issue. All right, let's get back to some of the questions here I might have missed. Ohio teen, getting weird patterns like snakes. Okay, that means you're not close enough because it's curling up like this. If you're getting that curling as it's coming out of the nozzle, two things can be going on. Your nozzle can be off axis, or your whole hot end can be off axis a little bit, and it's coming out on the side and it's curling, and you're not close enough, or you're too close and it's causing that issue. So double check that. Relevel your bed with a piece of paper, heat up the hot end, heat up the bed, take the filament out, make sure there's no filament dripping out of the nozzle, relevel the bed from corner to corner in a cross pattern, so X, starting in lower left, upper right, upper left, lower left. Then you should have your bed set, reload your material, and start a print. I have someone, Mike Kirk here is asking, I have someone that needs soap molds made that can be used several times, but I need to bake in the oven for about 20 minutes, 55C, and up to a max of 104C. Anything I can use? ABS too hot for TPU. ABS you could use. I know people that are using PLA. And if you anneal PLA, it has the same strength as ABS. When you anneal PLA, what you want to do is you want to heat up your oven to about 70 or 80 degrees. Leave it like that for about an hour with the door closed. Then take your parts, put them on a cookie sheet, not one that your wife uses for baking. Get a disposable if you can. Put them on a cookie sheet. Open the oven, turn the oven off, put them in the oven, and let the temperature come down in the oven gradually. And your parts with PLA Plus or Tough PLA, those are the ones that you want to use, and it should hold the molds. I have a client here in Calgary that actually makes soap molds, two-part soap molds, and all they're using is PLA, and they're not annealing them, and they're pressure soap bomb, whatever they call them. I would make a silicone mold. No. Does a raft count as the first layer, or is it the first layer of the object being printed? The raft counts as your first layer. Whatever material is hitting that bed first is your first layer. Now, a raft is going to look completely different than what you want your first layer to look like. Okay? Let's take a look at this ring right here. So, on that ring, let's focus, get my head out of the way.
Put a hand up in front of your face.
There we go. That's the first layer on mine. Okay? So you guys can see that. This is the top layer. My lines are nice and even. My bed lines are nice and even. If you've got just that little bit of overlap of each one, you should be fine. You gotta mic the wife, LOL. I can't hear her. No, we're not gonna mic her. No. Then it would be the Jerry show.
Because I'm smart.
Parker Cooper says, I put glass on my Monoprice 3, loving it. Great. Yeah. I'm still laughing about that too. You don't want us to get divorced, do you? Let me just let you guys know how you can find us on social media. If you're new here tonight, if this is your first time, thank you for joining us. Also, hit that subscribe button. Also, also ding the bell. Give us a thumbs up tonight, because I'm all alone, no Brian to rely on. But you can find us on Facebook at Facebook groups, The First Layer. We approve just about everybody. Instagram, you can find us. Also, you can tweet me. I don't do a lot of Twitter, but and then you can find us over on YouTube as well, where you're watching this program this evening. Now, if you have questions, you want to send your questions to questions@thefirstlayer.com. If you send them to me directly, chances are they're going to go into the G bin, because I go through my stuff every day and I get 200 plus emails a day easily. And if it's a question, chances are I'm going to miss it. So if you send it to questions@thefirstlayer.com, I will always see it as a question and it will appear on this show. Best Friends World, when designing something to actual size, e.g., I need to print a bath plug for a dog grooming bath. I bought a calipers, but not sure where to start. Sorry if this isn't the right kind of question for this. This is absolutely the right kind of question for this. That's a great thing, because I had to do the same thing here. When we look at these tubes, in order to make my 3D printed tube for the fully 3D printed rocket, I had to use calipers on the inside and on the outside. And it took some trial and error to get that to fit properly. And to make it so that it was smooth, the transition between the nose cone and the actual body tube was smooth. So calipers are exactly the right way to go. What you want to do is do the top first, the widest part of that plug that you have. If you're going by a plug that's broken, or find the widest part of it. So then when you're drawing it out in Fusion 360, you have a place to go. And you will always be able to match your smaller diameter to your larger diameter in Fusion. So you're doing the right thing. Calipers are exactly the right way to go. Or take a picture of it laying next to a ruler, and you can import that JPEG into Fusion 360 and use it as sort of a design element that you can draw around. You can trace over. Mike says, yes, the Jerry Show. Just don't cheap out on the calipers. Jim, you're absolutely right. Don't cheap out on the calipers. Buy a good set of calipers. Make sure you design some tolerance in, because with these I had too much tolerance, then I had too little tolerance. Now I've got them just right. So all my parts are tuned in just right. And it was in increments. So I would print a 20 mil test cube and measure it to see how accurate the print is. Snapshot, that's absolutely the best idea. Before you go start printing things on your printer, make sure that it is calibrated properly. So by doing that, you're going to grab yourself a test cube file. We've got one. You can find it over on our Facebook page in the file section. Just download it, and it should be 20 by 20 by 20. So, or you can make them bigger like I do. Unfortunately, it came without a plug, but I've been trying to use a human one. Okay, well, you know what I would do then is just measure the outer flange, measure the inner diameter of the actual plug or the drain hole. So now you'll have a lip, an overhang lip that will match the flange. Then you'll have a tapered piece that will go inside the drain hole, and that should stop the water. Calipers with 2 digits past the decimal are not enough. Get calipers with 3 digits past the decimal. I agree with that 100%. 3 digits past the decimal is the best way to go, definitely. Wow, we're coming up on the end of an hour already. Wow, you guys have had a lot of questions. Thank you very much, by the way. Hit that like button if you got your question answered to your satisfaction tonight. If you didn't, hit that thumbs down. Go ahead. It's all the same. Leave us a comment. Every week I ask you guys to leave comments down in the comment section below the live stream, and nobody does. So we don't get any interaction that way. Pierre, thank you, Richard, for the show. See you next week. See you next week, Pierre. I hope I answered the questions that you wanted answered. Guy the Jedi, no. Thank you, Richard. And Jerry. So, thank you, Jerry.
Parker Cooper said he sent an email.
Parker Cooper sent me an email. There it is. I sent an email. All right, so I will look at that email. Hopefully you send it to questions@thefirstlayer.com, and I will get a chance to look at that tonight or tomorrow morning. Is PLA the best to use as and warm?
The water will be warm.
But not hot. Yeah, don't soak your PLA parts in water. Just basically dip them in, wipe them off.
He's talking about the plug.
No, he's not. Is he? Are you talking about? Okay, if you.
The best friends world.
No. TPU. TPU is a better rubberized material for that. There's no comment section below. Oh, that's why. There's no way to comment below. I will have to check that.
I think it's after the live show.
I think it's after the live show that the comments open up. Thanks, Richard and Jerry. Great show, as always. Thank you, Jim. We do appreciate you guys coming. Come on, Jerry, make a cameo appearance.
I can't.
She can't. She's just wearing a bra. It's hot. Now that I've told the whole world that.
Thank you.
She's got a little red cheeks now, too. She was out all day visiting her mother, so I had a nice quiet day at home. Thank you guys very much for the show. Dog bath, LOL. Yes, use TPU to make that plug. Yeah, I think you'll have a much better job. And with that, guys, remember that we are back on Wednesday with another great episode for you. Hopefully you guys can comment on that. Leave us a thumbs up. Leave us whatever you like. Go check out our shopthefirstlayer.com. Order yourself a t-shirt if you like. All that stuff helps out the show. If you're buying on Amazon, check out our store on Amazon as well. With all that said, now that I've shilled all my merchandise, I'm going to bid you guys a great weekend. Go and have yourselves a great weekend. Do some barbecuing, have some fun with the family outside.
You're a liar.
What? Who? What?
He says he could see me in the reflection of your glasses.
Well, let me take those off then. She is only in her bra. She's giving me a show. And we are going to see you guys next Saturday, right here live. Brian will be back next Saturday. And until then, my friends, remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great brand. Have yourselves a great weekend. Bye.